Psst, check out my Patreon.
Well, it appears that Season 3 is just doomed to be this relatively mixed bag of episodes at this point, and In the Doghouse continues to contribute to that trend because this is yet another episode that's just kinda meh. As if the first Pug-Faced Paulie episode wasn't already just fine enough. I don't know if this villain is just cursed to be painfully uninteresting or what, but when the original series managed to create an interesting pet villain character in one episode, yet this reboot has failed to do it in multiple attempts, it's kind of telling that there's just nothing worthwhile to be found here. Like, he's a mob boss pug, and that's the whole joke. You know that famous image of the dogs playing poker? Yeah, that's the villain. I wish there was at least something interesting to find in this character, but there's just nothing. It's the dog in that picture. That's all it is. And the episode itself is, you probably guessed it, just another Buttercup saves everybody episode because we don't have enough of those already. Also, remember how the Long Skate Home is categorized as a mixed title card despite basically being a Blossom episode? Well, likewise, In the Doghouse is basically a Buttercup episode, regardless of what the title card color says, because guess what? In this episode, Blossom and Bubbles end up getting captured and Buttercup has to come save them. But whatever, let's just get through this.
Stealing this Crotaxium crystal was too easy for the bronze boogie boarder.
I'll take that.
The episode begins with Bliss, of all people, stopping a Marvel parody character from causing trouble in the galaxy. I'm suddenly wishing the entire episode was more fixated on that plot instead of what we actually get, because as indifferent as I am towards Bliss, at least the sound of space adventures is tons more interesting than Buttercup saves the day for the bajillionth time. Yeah, turns out Bliss is actually on a video call with her sisters while this is going down, who are talking to her instead of getting their chores done because, really, what kid ever wants to do chores? The professor is nice enough to allow them to talk to their sister, but he does remind them of the work that needs done, and brings in his accomplice to make sure that they stick to their assigned tasks without any distractions.
Prepare for cleansing.
Oh, sorry, girls. Didn't mean to scare you with my new dust mask.
Cleaning day! Cleaning day! Cleaning day! Cleaning day!
You know, I was really hoping we'd never see this guy again after road tripping, but then they had to go and revive him back in season 2, and now he's here to stay. At least I'll get to experience some revenge on him later on, and you'll see what I mean. Anyways, Buttercup wishes she was up in space instead of stuck at home doing her share of the chores, and Blossom bets her, quote, $1 bajillion, end quote, that she wouldn't last 2 days up there.
You wouldn't last 1 week in outer space. Last chance to chicken out.
Just keep that $1 bajillion warm for me. I don't want any cold money. Later, dudes.
Bye! I'll give her 2 days.
And then we cut to 3 days later where Buttercup is gloating about how awesome she is over the phone while Blossom sits there annoyed at her success. Okay, in reality the deal is that Buttercup needs to stay up there for at least a week, but the way Blossom says I give her 2 days kind of made me think that the deal was only 2 days long when I originally wrote this script, but I just want to clarify that it does last for a week, which is important because we obviously cut to 3 days later when the week isn't up, but Blossom's own stipulations are. That's why it's a little confusing, and I was like baffled at first because I could have sworn that Buttercup already met her requirements, but it turns out that she didn't. So, apologies for that really long-winded explanation, but I just wanted to get that out of my system before we keep going.
So, I clocked the evil space alligator and I turned to him and said, "See you later, guy."
Why? Why the sudden pause and then just the guy? The obvious word is right there. What are you trying to do? Subvert expectations? This is the same shit that happened when Bubbles said,
Whoa! A wanted poster! It's what I always desired.
What's the significance of not going for the obvious word? The awkward pause just comes off as clumsy delivery. Like, what was so bad about her seeing "see you later, alligator"? That's what the idiom is? Haha, it's funny because she didn't say anything creative. So, she said a sentence, and that's laughter-worthy. See you later, guy. That's so funny. Give me a break. Buttercup's an idiot, although she was somehow clever enough to hide the fact that she never actually went to space, and this is where we learn that she has instead been camping out in the garage until enough time has passed for her to win the bet. Which doesn't really make any fucking sense to me, because she literally had no trouble flying through all of space at breakneck speed when she went to score that soccer goal in Ragnarok and Roll. I don't get it, man. Time and time again, this reboot fucking contradicts itself, so much so that it almost feels like it's done on purpose. I mean, it happens so frequently, can it really be considered accidental? Like, one moment she's totally fine going to Atlantis or fighting Beast in Phantasm Chasm, but the instant she has to go up into space for a few days, oh no, she can't do it. This is like Blossom not believing in aliens despite the fact that she fought the Spore before she didn't believe in aliens. Well, regardless, apparently Buttercup would rather drink spaghetti in the garage than go hang out with Bliss in space, because apparently she's too scared. Even though she'd have Bliss to protect her, she's already been in space before, and she'd be earning $1 bajillion. Whatever that's supposed to mean. Also, did the professor okay this? Is he totally content with his 6-year-old daughter flying up into space and fending for herself for a week? Or did the girls just plan this without telling him? How would they cover up Buttercup's disappearance? I mean, the professor would obviously notice his daughter was missing, right? Oh, actually, maybe that's giving this dumbass too much credit. A reasonable and responsible adult would notice their daughter missing, right? Meanwhile, on the other side of town, Pug-Faced Paulie is caught in the middle of a getaway car chase with the cops while he and the rest of his crew are trying to find some place to lay low for a while until the heat of the police wears off. Just so happens that that place is none other than the Utonium residence, which makes sense because why would the police check the home of the town's heroes? That's like the last place they would be compelled to look, so I'll give Paulie credit for that. But still, the fact that he trapped Blossom, Bubbles, and the professor without issue and off screen is extremely lame. And also unbelievable because they're supposed to be superheroes, but we gotta let Buttercup be the one to save the day again because biased favoritism.
Buttercup went to outer space. She's not gonna be home for a couple of more days. Bubbles! I'm sorry, but am I the only one who sees this tiny hat?
Grab it!
Even if Bubbles found Paulie adorable, Blossom is more than capable of taking all of these guys by herself, as was clearly seen in the Bubble Sitters Club. But nah, she just gets captured so that Buttercup can put on this mysterious costume and roam around the house taking out Paulie's goons one at a time. First she takes out Dapper Dan Doberman in the garage. That's such a stupid name.
Who goes there?
Your worst nightmare.
Then he takes out the 3 terrier triplets. And then Buttercup just takes out all the goons, until nobody but Paulie himself remains in the house. It's really not an important scene. I hope you're not upset by me skipping past this. It's nothing extraordinary. At this point, Paulie's getting desperate, so he threatens the Utoniums by chomping down on ScheduleBot, which I'm totally in support of. But what really gets me is that the professor doesn't even bat an eye. So the dude will lose his absolute shit in the telltale ScheduleBot when he discovers he is broken. But when he witnesses this villain inflict pain and rip him to pieces firsthand, he doesn't even flinch. It gets to the point where Paulie shoves the Utonium family inside a closet and leaves everything to himself, although it appears he still has at least one more lackey left to assist him with this trouble he's encountered.
That's obviously a trap. Stay away from that trap, butt sniffer. Bootiest tea sniffer! Butt sniffer! No!
And now he's on his own. I should probably mention that Buttercup is wearing this faux Darth Vader helmet while she takes all of these goons out, which is a callback to the same helmet that the professor is established to be using at the very beginning of the episode when expositing how the girls are supposed to be doing their chores. But yeah, Buttercup fights back against Paulie one-on-one and fails miserably because she can't break his steel chompers of destruction.
Hum, hum, hum. You may got the bark, but I got the punch! Ah, yeah!
See, that would make sense, except Paulie has the bite and Buttercup fails to make a dent in them. You know, for once the term indestructible is actually applicable here. Princess should take notes. If anything, in this situation, Buttercup is the one who's all bark. I mean, she even gets to the point where he's got her crawling backwards on the floor in desperation until she accidentally turns on a vacuum cleaner and coincidentally scares Paulie at just the right time, which causes him to run away. Only he doesn't run away. He just knocks himself unconscious as the closet door opens. And that's where it ends. Okay.
You owe me $1 bajillion.
Was that really necessary? No. No, it wasn't. Villain slams into a wall, we never find out if he gets arrested, or we never see him get beat up or anything. He just knocks himself unconscious by walking into a wall, and Buttercup decides to be a brat. Ugh. Anyways, Blossom calling out Buttercup and saying that she lost the bet because she didn't stay up in space for a full week. Remember, this takes place 3 days after Buttercup supposedly left. Does not make sense here for the following reason. Buttercup was called in by Bubbles with a mysterious message that definitely cued her into something being up. Buttercup was contacted by her sisters on Earth with the implication that something was terribly wrong and that they could be in danger. Buttercup just saved her family from that imminent danger. Even if this has been overdone to death, Buttercup saving the day. She was still rescuing her family here. Screw you, Blossom. Who gives a shit about a stupid bet when she just saved your life? Her initial reaction isn't "thank you for the assistance, Buttercup." It's "haha, I win, fuck you," even though she would otherwise still be trapped in that closet while Paulie and his goons ransacked their house and did an unknowingly long list of other terrible shit. Buttercup did not admit to lying here. She did not tell her that she was hiding in the garage. Yes, I know that Buttercup is a conniving little prick who did lie about this whole situation in the first place, and yes, she saves the day every other episode, so really Buttercup doesn't deserve to win the bet. But Blossom is being the asshole here given the current circumstances. For her to just jump to this conclusion without any consideration for what her sister was doing for her, that is, sacrificing her side of the bet to save them, is extremely self-centered. If Buttercup came clean and said, "Hey, I lied, I wasn't actually in space this entire time," and then Blossom called her out, she would be completely in the right and it would be totally justified. I'm willing to bet that the episode thinks it's okay for Blossom to chastise Buttercup because Buttercup initially lied, but the fact that Blossom as a character never actually fully comes to that conclusion because she never has any inclination to believe that Buttercup was lying just proves that the writing is overall incredibly sloppy. There were no revisions, there was no thought, it's sloppy. It's another sloppy conclusion, because the majority of these episodes always end very, very sloppily. It's nothing new at this point. I honestly don't see how something can be so consistently sloppy like this. Like, it never learned from its mistakes. It really didn't. Also, the ending as a whole just comes on way too fast, and I feel this is an issue that has persisted across many episodes recently. Total Eclipse of the Cart, Quarantine, Ragnarok and Roll. I don't know, it just feels like these episodes get way too close to their time limit and just spontaneously end at a screeching halt. Would have been better if a few of the earlier scenes were cut out so that we could have a more solidified conclusion instead of just dog hits wall, door opens, Blossom says sentence, flatulence, end. In the Doghouse, it's bland and not worthy of further discussion. I wouldn't say this episode is as bad as Quarantine, but there is nothing remarkable here. Still one of the most boring episodes of the season, hence the lower than normal enthusiasm I've expressed in this one. Thankfully, now we're moving on to Salamander, an episode with very divisive points of view from what I've observed. Can this episode save the reboot, or does it screw up things even more? Find out next time.